Welcome to the world of COZHOM. This audio experience is inspired by the Iliad by Homer, an ancient Greek epic composed nearly 2,800 years ago, and reimagined here as a journey into rest, night, and restoration. Before the music begins, please take a moment to prepare your space. Find a quiet place where you feel safe and undisturbed. Lower the lighting to a level that feels soothing, or turn it off completely if that feels right to you. Gently close your eyes. As part of this ritual, we invite you to apply the COZHOM Insomnia Relief Gel evenly to your skin, allowing its scent and texture to become part of your sensory environment. If available, settle into our specially designed bedding set, created to support the body gently and continuously throughout the night. This experience is not meant to be rushed. There is nothing you need to achieve and nothing you need to control. Simply allow yourself to listen, to soften, and to rest. When you are ready, the journey will begin.
A river meandered quietly, timeless and sacred. The river Styx. Its waters shimmered with a darkness that was not emptiness, but depth, soft and yielding like the velvet of night before dawn. The river wound along the edge of the world, beneath the watchful gaze of my mother, Nyx, the night goddess. Daylight never lingered here. It dared not disturb the solemn stillness. Even the faintest sound would dissolve before reaching the shadowed banks. The river did not bend to expectation. It simply existed, eternal, patient, like night itself. This is where my nature took shape. At the edge of the world where no road continues and no light insists on going further, the river Styx moves without urgency. It does not rush. It does not glitter. It does not explain itself. It flows as night flows, without resistance, without persuasion, without the need to arrive. My mother Nyx keeps this place. She does not rule it. She allows it. Under her presence, time loosens its grip. Sound learns to lower itself. Even thought, when it wanders too close, begins to soften at the edges. Here, nothing is demanded of the body. Here, awareness is not required to perform. This is where I remain. I am hypnos. I do not strike. I do not seize. I do not command eyes to close. I wait until closing becomes unnecessary. Beside me dwells my brother, Thanatos. Many confuse us. He completes. I pause. Where he is precise, I am gradual. Where he is final, I am temporary. Between us runs a clear boundary, held firm by night itself. And it is night, not death, that teaches the body how to let go. Here at the river's edge, effort has no purpose. The water will not move faster because you watch it. The darkness will not deepen because you try. Everything works by agreement. This is the first truth of sleep. Nothing in the body rests alone. The breath listens to the muscles. The muscles listen to the ground beneath them. The mind listens to the rhythm that surrounds it. When even one part is asked to stay alert, the whole system remains upright. Sleep does not arrive by force. It arrives when the environment finally says, "You are no longer needed." In the long nights of the world, many have forgotten this. They lie down, but their homes remain awake. Their bodies touch softness, but their thoughts patrol the dark. Their breath shortens, listening for what might go wrong. This is not stubbornness. It is vigilance that has outlived its usefulness. I do not blame vigilance. It kept many alive. But vigilance must be given a place to rest. That place is night. At least 2,800 years ago, in ancient Greece, before the Trojan War broke out, before the names of the heroes were spread far and wide, the night already knew how to accomplish this task. It knew how to dim the edges of the world, how to gather scattered sensations, how to teach the body that it is held. When night is allowed to do its work fully, sleep is not an event, it is a condition. Like a home that has been lived in long enough that the floor no longer creaks, that the walls remember warmth, that the air itself seems to recognize your breath. A resting place is not defined by walls alone. It is defined by predictability, by rhythm, by the absence of threat. Even the gods require this. Do not believe that immortality protects one from exhaustion. To watch without pause is its own burden. Before the first spear was lifted, before ships gathered along the Achaean shore, the gods themselves had already begun to tire. The quarrel of mortals had reached Olympus not as noise, but as constancy. Petitions rose without rest. Vows were spoken without silence between them. Every night was asked to carry more than night was meant to hold. There came a time, long after the river Styx had learned every name it would ever need, when the world forgot how to rest. The Trojan War did not begin with swords. It began with a tension that could not turn away. Men stood beneath the stars with armor still fastened, their bodies lowered but their minds still upright. Fires burned low, but thoughts burned higher. It crossed the sea the same night reached Olympus. The same darkness climbed the slopes of the mountain. But there too, no one truly rested. When the mind believes it must continue watching, the night cannot complete its work. This is when I am felt, not as a figure, not as a voice, but as a change in atmosphere, a quiet rearranging. If you imagine me at all, imagine not a god approaching you, but a room finally agreeing with your body, the surface beneath you learning your weight, the air matching your breath, the darkness closing gaps you did not know you were holding open. Nothing is removed, nothing is taken. Everything simply stops insisting. You may notice the head grow heavier first. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. They do not disappear, they loosen. This is not something you must follow. It happens beneath thought. The shoulders follow next, not by instruction, but by remembering they were never meant to remain lifted. The breath does not deepen because you ask it to. It deepens because the space around it no longer demands speed. This is how night works when allowed to finish a sentence. I have watched this occur in caves, on open ground, on woven mats, on soft surfaces prepared with care. The materials change, the system does not. When the body is supported, when the air is steady, when scent is familiar and gentle, when the dark does not hide danger, the mind no longer needs to stay awake. Sleep is not an achievement. It is a return. If you are listening now, you do not need to do anything with my words. They are not instructions. They are atmosphere. Let them pass through you as wind passes through leaves, noticed, then forgotten. You do not need to listen anymore. Night has already begun its work. I remain here, at the edge where effort ends, where the river continues without being watched. When the world is ready to soften further, when even the gods begin to feel the cost of endless attention, that is when the next movement begins. Not yet, for now there is only night and the permission to rest within it. There are nights when darkness arrives on time, but rest does not follow. I have known such nights. They do not announce themselves loudly. They look ordinary from a distance. The stars take their places. The fires burn lower. Bodies lie down. Yet nothing truly settles. During the years of the Trojan War, night after night unfolded like this. Men laid their shields beside them, but kept their hands close. They closed their eyes, but kept their thoughts standing. The body would lower itself, yet the mind remained upright, as if guarding something unnamed. This is how wakefulness survives exhaustion. The wind from the sea moved gently across the camps. It carried salt, smoke, and the faint scent of worn leather. It brushed against skin, cooled heated faces, and still, it was not enough. Because sleep does not belong to one sense alone. The ground beneath them was uneven. Some lay on packed earth, others on straw, others on cloaks folded again and again to soften what could not truly be softened. The surface held them, but did not perceive them. Their breathing slowed for moments, then tightened again. Each sound, a footstep, a shifting ember, pulled awareness back to the surface. This is what happens when one part of the system remains alert. The body waits, the mind patrols, the breath hesitates between the two. Even the heroes were not spared this division. Achilles lay apart from the others, his strength intact, his rest incomplete. Hector slept among his men, yet his dreams were shallow, his breath never fully released. They did not fear the dark. They feared what might arrive within it, and fear, once it takes residence, does not sleep alone. Across the sea, the same night touched Olympus. The mountain was quiet, but quiet is not rest. The gods watched. Zeus watched. From his height, the movement of armies was visible even in darkness. The shifting of advantage, the subtle turning of fate. His gaze did not soften with night. It sharpened. To see without pause is to remain unfinished. Hera knew this. She moved through the night without sound, without urgency. She did not come to me then. Not yet, because even the gods hesitate before asking for rest. I felt the imbalance long before words approached me. The night itself grew strained. Wind moved but did not soothe. Darkness spread but did not gather. When the system is out of harmony, no single force can correct it. Sleep is not a spell, it is an agreement. In the camps below Troy, some attempted to force it. They pressed their eyes closed. They counted breaths. They waited impatiently for stillness. This only sharpened wakefulness. Others surrendered too quickly, falling into brief unconsciousness only to wake moments later. Heart racing, mind already returning to battle. Fragmented rest repairs nothing. I do not intervene in fragments. I work where conditions are prepared, and yet I watched. I watched how the night failed, not because it was weak, but because it was interrupted at every turn. Noise without sound, movement without motion, a tension without rest. This is the nature of prolonged vigilance. When the war stretched from months into years, the body adapted in ways that harmed it. Sleep shortened, dreams thinned, breath became shallow. Not because sleep was unavailable, but because the environment never fully released its hold. A resting place must feel trustworthy. Without that, even the softest surface becomes alert. I do not require silence. I require coherence. When wind, ground, air, and body begin to speak the same rhythm, sleep listens. But in those nights, everything spoke at once. I remained where I was, at the river's edge, listening. Not waiting for a prayer, not waiting for a command, waiting for necessity. Because I do not arrive early, I arrive when endurance has reached its limit. You may recognize this moment, the point where effort no longer produces results, where staying awake feels heavier than letting go ever did. This is not weakness, it is timing. The war had not yet reached that point, but it was close, and so I stayed still. I allowed the night to continue attempting its work. I allowed the wind to keep moving. I allowed bodies to lie down again and again. Each failed rest was not wasted. It was information. The system was learning what no longer worked. This is how change becomes possible, not through force, through accumulation. If you are listening now and find yourself hovering between rest and awareness, you are not doing it wrong. You are learning what cannot be rushed. Let the night continue around you. Let the surface beneath you adjust. Let the air find its rhythm again. You do not need to arrive anywhere. The story is still unfolding. And when the time comes for rest to be requested rather than resisted, the night will know. So will I. For now, remain where you are. Even incomplete rest is still a form of holding. And holding, when sustained long enough, eventually becomes release. There comes a moment when even vigilance grows tired of itself. It does not announce surrender. It loosens. I saw this first in the smallest signs. Breathing that no longer held its edge. Hands that unclenched without permission. A jaw that softened, even while the mind stayed awake. These changes are quiet. They do not feel like progress, yet they matter more than sudden sleep ever could. On the plains before Troy, the night continued its work, not through silence, but through repetition. The sea breathed in and out. Waves did not rush. They returned. The wind crossed the camps again and again, touching armor, fabric, skin. Each passed slightly slower than the last. Nothing dramatic changed. That is why it worked. Bodies respond to consistency long before they respond to intention. Men shifted their weight in sleep and did not wake fully this time. A shoulder settled deeper into the ground. A cloak stayed in place instead of being adjusted. The ground itself cooled, not sharply, evenly. Temperature, too, is a language. When it steadies, the body listens. I did not step closer. I did not touch. I never rush what is already moving. Above, on Olympus, the same pattern unfolded. The night air wrapped the columns. Shadows lengthened, but did not sharpen. Zeus remained awake, yet his stillness changed. To watch without interruption is exhausting, even for a god. The mind can only hold tension for so long before it seeks a surface to rest against. I felt that weight beginning to shift, not downward yet, sideways. This is how true rest begins, not as collapse, but as redistribution. Energy moves from one place to many. In the camps, dreams began to return, not clearly, not fully formed. Fragments, a shoreline remembered, a childhood path, the sound of water without threat. Dreams like these do not pull consciousness away. They invite it. They do not demand belief. They offer familiarity. And familiarity calms systems that have been alert too long. Sleep does not arrive because one part lets go. It arrives when enough parts agree. Breath lengthens slightly. Exhale found more time than inhale. Hearts adjusted their pace, not slower, but steadier. Muscles did not go limp. They released their argument. Even those who woke again found it easier to lie still afterward. Stillness, once accepted, teaches the body that it is safe to remain. I watch this with care, because premature intervention breaks the pattern. I am not drawn to force, I am drawn to alignment. When surface, temperature, air, and breath begin to echo one another, sleep no longer needs persuasion, it recognizes itself. If you are listening now and feel your body growing heavier while your thoughts remain present, this is not failure. This is sequence. Thought often lingers after the body has already decided. Let it. Thought will follow when it realizes it is no longer needed. The night understands patience better than any of us. So do I. I remain nearby, not above, not within. Close enough to notice when coherence replaces effort, because that is the moment when the story turns. And soon, very soon, someone will ask the night for what it alone can provide. Until then, the yielding continues, quietly. There is a kind of tiredness that does not belong to the body alone. It belongs to responsibility. I have watched it settle over mortals and gods alike. In the nights of Troy, this weariness spread quietly upward. From the shore, from the tents, from the long hours of waiting. It rose like mist, not thick, but persistent. On Olympus, the air changed, not suddenly, not enough to alarm, but enough to be felt by those who have ruled too long without rest. Zeus remained awake. His gaze did not waver. Storms still answered him. Order remained intact. Yet even the sky bears weight. To hold the world in balance requires constant attention. Attention without pause creates strain. I sensed it in the space between his breasts, a pause that lingered half a moment longer than before. Not sleep, only the beginning of distance. Below him, Hera moved through the night. She did not summon me. Not yet. She walked the paths of Olympus with careful steps, as though listening to the air for the right moment. Hera understands timing. She knows that rest cannot be taken by demand. It must be prepared. The night around her responded. Clouds softened their edges. The wind turned gentler, less curious. Even sound learned restraint. Far from the mountain, the camps near Troy had grown quieter, not silent, but settled. Those who woke again returned to stillness more easily. Those who dreamed did not wake at every turn. The body had begun to trust the night. Trust is built when nothing bad happens again and again. Not through interruption, but through repeated safety. I remained at the edge of all this. I always do. I do not stand in councils. I do not argue fate. I wait for imbalance to reveal itself. An imbalance had begun to show. Zeus watched when watching was no longer necessary. Hera planned when the night itself was already preparing. Neither acted wrongly, yet neither could pause alone. That is the nature of power. It does not know how to rest itself. Only the night can do that. And I am of the night. I felt the moment approaching not as urgency, but as inevitability. When vigilance has gone on too long, sleep becomes not an option, but a correction. The air thickens slightly, not heavy, supportive, Breathing everywhere found a deeper rhythm, not slower, more complete. This is when the body stops asking questions. This is when the mind loosens its grip without realizing it has done so. I did not move yet. The night was still working. Soon someone would come to where I wait, not to command me, not to challenge me, but to ask the night for what only it can offer. Until then, everything continued to soften. Naturally, there are moments when the night changes direction, not sharply, not with intention, but with quiet certainty. I felt it before Hera spoke. The wind near Olympus no longer wandered. It settled into paths it had followed before. Ancient paths, paths worn smooth by repetition. This is how the night remembers. Hera arrived where I dwell at the edge of things, not beneath thunder, not in command. She came without ceremony. Her presence did not disturb the dark. It blended with it. That alone told me she understood what she was asking. She did not speak at first. Neither did I. Silence is not absence. It is preparation. Around us, the night held steady. The air neither cooled nor warmed. It balanced. At last, Hera spoke of Zeus, not of power, not of rule, of watching, of holding the world without pause. She did not accuse him of excess. She named fatigue, a subtle difference. She spoke of how even order, maintained too long, begins to strain the one who guards it. Her words did not rush. They aligned with the rhythm already present. She did not ask me to change fate. She asked me to allow pause. This matters. I remembered another time, a time when Zeus had slept and woken in anger, when thunder followed me through sky and earth, when I fled to my mother, to night herself. Nyx had stood between us then. Even Zeus halted before her presence. Hera knew this. She acknowledged my silence without pressing against it. She spoke instead of balance, of how even the strongest system requires intervals of rest to remain whole. She did not say, now. She said, when the night is ready. That is how you ask for sleep, not by force, by timing. I listened, not to her voice alone, but to everything else, to the way the wind remained even, to how the darkness did not resist her presence, to how my own stillness felt undisturbed. The night was not alarmed. That was the answer. I agreed without speaking the word. Agreement does not always require sound. It requires alignment. Nothing happened immediately. That is important. Sleep does not arrive the moment it is invited. It arrives when the system is prepared. Hera understood this. She left without urgency. Above us, Zeus still watched the world. But now the night had begun to gather around him without opposition. Clouds would soon thicken slightly. The air would soften further. Thought would lose its sharp edge. Not because it was taken, because it was no longer needed. I remained where I was. Waiting is part of my nature. Soon the night would move from preparation to permission. And when it did, even the King of Gods would remember what it means to rest, just as you are beginning to remember now. There are names that do not enter the night lightly. They are not spoken to persuade. They are spoken to complete what is already aligned. Hera returned only when the dark was ready to hold the weight of what would follow. This time she did not speak first of Zeus. She spoke of balance restored after rest, and then she spoke a name, Pasithea. The name itself did not echo, it settled. That is how you know it belongs to the night. She did not describe her. She did not need to. Some presences are known not by form, but by function. Pasithea is not force. She is not command. She is the easing that follows surrender. The quiet joy that arrives after vigilance releases its grip. Hera did not offer her as reward. She offered her as continuation, as harmony. She understood something mortals often forget, that rest when complete must reach beyond the body, that after muscles soften and breath slows, the heart also needs a place to land. This is what Pasithea represents, not stimulation, not excitement, but gentle coherence. I did not respond immediately, not because I doubted her word, but because promises of this kind must be weighed against the order of night itself. I listened again, to the air, to the dark, to the rhythm already forming around Olympus. Nothing resisted. The night did not pull back. That was enough. I accepted, not with desire, with recognition. What followed was not anticipation. It was calm, because when sleep is true, it does not hurry toward its outcome. It allows the system to complete itself. Above us, Zeus still watched, but now the watching had softened. His gaze no longer sharpened the air. The clouds above him grew thicker, not heavier. The difference matters. Weight presses, thickness insulates. This is how a home becomes cozy, not by excess warmth, but by protection from unnecessary exposure. The world was being prepared the way a room prepares itself before rest. No sudden silence, no abrupt dark, just fewer interruptions. Fewer edges. I did not move toward Zeus yet. That moment belongs to the next turning. For now the promise rested where it needed to rest. Like a thought that no longer needs repeating. Like a body that has found a position it does not wish to leave. If you are listening now and something in you feels quieter without knowing why, that is not coincidence. Not at once, but in the correct order. The night is doing what it has always done best, preparing without announcing. And soon nothing will need to be held awake any longer. There comes a moment in every night when effort stops pretending it is necessary. Not because the world is finished, but because the world has decided to carry itself for a while. This is that moment. I feel it before I see it. The way the air changes when it no longer waits to be disturbed. The wind slows not to silence, but to purpose. It begins to move only what must be moved. Leaves no longer argue with their branches. The sea loosens its shoulders. Even fire, which believes itself restless, burns lower when it senses that nothing is demanding its proof. This is when I speak. Not louder, more steadily. You do not need to follow every word. You never did. Sleep does not enter through attention. It enters through permission. I have watched mortals mistake listening for effort. They try to hold the night the way one holds a thought. But night is not held, it is entered. And entry happens when the system no longer resists itself. Your body already knows how to do this. It learned long before language arrived. It learned when warmth meant survival, when enclosure meant safety, when darkness meant you were not visible to what hunts. This knowledge has never left you. It only waits for the environment to agree with it. That is why place matters. Why the surface beneath you matters. Why texture matters. Why scent matters. A home becomes cozy not because it is perfect, but because it stops asking you to perform. A room that heals sleep does not stimulate, it receives. Fabric that rests the skin does not announce itself. It allows the body to forget that it is being touched at all. This is not luxury. This is alignment. The nervous system does not calm because it is told to. It calms when every signal tells the same story. Tonight, the story is simple. Nothing more is required. I move now. Movement itself has slowed enough to welcome me. I cross the space between intention and arrival without resistance. Zeus still breathes wakefulness, but it is thinner now. Not fragile, just incomplete. His thoughts circle without landing. This is always the sign. Sleep does not erase power, it redistributes it. The mind loosens so the body may recover. The will softens so the system may repair. This is not defeat, it is maintenance. Mortals often forget this. They treat rest as something earned, as if exhaustion were proof. But exhaustion is only a signal that rest was delayed too long. True rest arrives before collapse. It arrives when the night is allowed to do its work. I do not touch Zeus yet. I do not need to. Sleep does not rush. It surrounds. It changes the temperature of thought. It thickens the dark until vigilance has nowhere to stand. The clouds draw closer, not to hide, to insulate. The stars dim slightly, not because they are fading, but because the eyes no longer strain toward them. This is what happens when awareness is no longer scanning for threat. If you are listening and your breath has already changed, that is not suggestion, that is recognition. The body recognizes a pattern it trusts. Slow, even, uninterrupted. I speak again, not to direct, but to remain present while the system finishes its work. There is no single switch for sleep. There never was. This same pattern returns. It requires agreement between muscle and memory, between breath and belief, between environment and expectation. That is why one solution is never enough. That is why rest must be built, layer by layer, until nothing contradicts it. Tonight, the layers are aligning. The night outside you and the night within you are no longer separate. They are speaking the same quiet language. Soon, even listening will feel unnecessary. And when that happens, do not resist it. That is not absence. That is arrival. I will remain, even when you no longer notice. Because sleep, when it is real, does not require your awareness to continue. It happens beneath thought. It happens because the system has finally been allowed to be whole. There is a moment just before sleep arrives when power forgets it needs to stay alert. I recognize this moment in gods and in mortals alike. It feels the same. A loosening that does not announce itself. A pause that is not chosen. The breath changes first. Not deeper, not slower, just less guarded. This is how I know the night has been accepted. Zeus still lies awake, But his wakefulness has lost its edge. His thoughts no longer press forward. They drift, they circle, they touch nothing long enough to demand action. This is not weakness, this is trust. Even the ruler of thunder must release in order to remain whole. I step closer now. The air around him is already different. Cooler at the edges, warmer at the center, like a space prepared long before arrival. The clouds above no longer move with urgency. They layer themselves the way beddings do, one over another, not heavy, protective. The wind lowers its voice, not because it is silence, but because it senses that silence is more useful now. I do not rush. Sleep does not arrive when pursued. It arrives when nothing blocks its path. So I allow time to stretch, not endlessly, just enough for vigilance to become unnecessary. This is where mortals struggle most. They believe they must do something, but sleep is not an action. It is a condition that appears when all actions stand down. I bring my presence closer without touching. Even proximity has weight. Even intention changes temperature. His thoughts still reach outward, though they return unanswered. Attention lingers without purpose. Wakefulness remains, but it no longer commands. Zeus exhales, a long breath, one that carries no decision with it. This is the sign I have waited for. I let the night do most of the work. Darkness is not empty. It is filled with permission. It tells the body it no longer needs to be seen. Seen things stay alert. Hidden things repair. The mind understands this even when it pretends not to. I speak softly now, not words, rhythm. The rhythm of something that has always existed. The same rhythm that guided the first sleep long before gods had names. Nothing more. No imagery required. No effort needed. The system recognizes the pattern. Zeus's thoughts lose their sequence, not abruptly, gently, like beads slipping from a loosened string. Memory softens. Intention dissolves. Even thunder rests its hands. This is the moment where myths often exaggerate. They imagine struggle, resistance, victory. But there is none of that here. Sleep does not conquer, it welcomes. And power, when it is truly secure, accepts the invitation. I place the final veil not on his eyes, but on his urgency. Urgency is what keeps beings awake. When urgency leaves, sleep has no opposition. The night thickens once more. Not darker, more complete. The world no longer feels observed, only held. Zeus's breath settles into a pattern that requires no thought. Longer, even, unconcerned. This is sleep, not collapse, not escape. Maintenance, repair, integration. I remain still. Sleep does not like witnesses who fidget. I allow the moment to seal itself. Time loosens. War pauses. The world exhales without realizing it was holding its breath. Not only to bodies, but to systems. When the central force rests, everything else recalibrates. Chaos quiets. Excess drains away. Balance returns without instruction. Mortals are taught otherwise. They treat rest as a reward. But rest is the condition that allows life to continue without damage. Zeus sleeps now, not yet complete, but stable. Without dreams yet. Dreams come later. First comes the blank field, the quiet ground, the place where nothing is demanded and everything repairs itself. I stay longer than necessary because departure too soon can stir wakefulness. Sleep must feel unobserved to deepen, so I remain until even the idea of being watched has disappeared. Only then do I begin to withdraw, slowly, carefully, leaving no ripple behind. The night holds, the clouds remain, the wind continues its low, circular path. Nothing rushes back in, nothing claims attention. This is how sleep is protected, not by force, but by continuity. If you are listening and your thoughts have begun to blur, that is not loss, that is alignment. You are not falling asleep. You are being returned to a state you already know. I will speak again later. For now, the night has you, and that is enough. When Zeus sleeps, nothing announces it. There is no sound of thunder stopping, no bell, no sign, only a subtle change in how the world holds itself. I have seen this before, not often, but enough to recognize it. When the one who must always watch finally rests, the rest of the world does not panic. It steadies. The sky does not fall. The earth does not split. Instead, many small things quiet themselves all at once. On the plains below, tools remain untouched. Hands loosen their grip. Not because peace has arrived, but because exhaustion has finally been acknowledged. Fires burn lower, not out, just lower. Their light becomes rounder, softer, less demanding, not through dramatic change, but through reduction. Less heat, less speed, less insistence. I remain near, though unseen. Sleep, once established, must be guarded from interruption, not aggressively, gently, like a room where someone you love is finally resting. You do not slam doors there. You walk differently. Even the thoughts learn to step lightly. This is what happens now across the world. Even where war continues, its rhythm shifts. Movements lose sharpness, decisions take longer, errors appear. This is not chaos. A system that has been strained cannot snap back into balance. It must loosen first. I watch the night do what it has always done. Cover, contain, hold. No instruction required. The clouds maintain their layers, not drifting apart, not pressing down, just present. Like a ceiling that promises nothing will intrude, the wind keeps its circular path, no sudden changes, no surprises. Mortals do not know why they feel calmer. They may still be afraid, still alert, still tense, but something underneath has softened. That is the part that matters. Sleep does not erase fear, it restores capacity. Capacity to endure, capacity to decide later, capacity to heal. I think often about how beings misunderstand sleep. They treat it as absence, as a loss of awareness. But sleep is a different kind of awareness, one that does not analyze, one that does not judge, one that repairs quietly what effort has worn thin. This is why rest must be systemic. A single muscle relaxing does not heal a body. A single thought quieting does not heal a mind. Everything must be allowed to slow together. Breath, weight, temperature, sound, expectation. When these align, sleep appears naturally. Not forced, not chased, invited. As Zeus sleeps, I feel the balance shift. Not complete, not permanent, but enough. Enough to remind the world what it feels like when vigilance is not endless. I think of mortals now, of those lying awake in rooms meant for rest. Rooms that hold warmth, rooms that hold scent, rooms that hold fabric meant to soften the body's edges. Even there, wakefulness can persist. Not because the night is absent, but because the system has not been allowed to agree with itself. The body may be tired, the mind may still patrol, the breath may be shallow, the senses may be alert. Sleep waits for consensus. This is why repetition matters. The same cadence, the same safety night after night does not bore the body. It reassures it. I have been here before. I survived. I rested. I woke. Familiarity is not dullness. It is safety. Zeus stirs slightly, not waking, just adjusting. A deeper layer opens. I know now the sleep will hold. The night has claimed its rightful place. I begin to withdraw further, not leaving entirely, just receding into the background. Sleep, when mature, no longer needs guidance. It sustains itself. I let the world continue its slow correction. Errors introduced by exhaustion will resolve themselves. Tension will redistribute. The morning, when it comes, will arrive less sharp, not gentle, but less cruel. This is enough. I have done what was required, not more, not less. And if you are listening, still awake or almost not, know this: nothing is wrong with you. Your system may simply need more agreement, more repetition, more permission to stop watching. Stay here. Let the night hold you a little longer. I will remain nearby, quiet, unseen, doing what I have always done. I remain close to Olympus, though far enough that my presence would not stir unnecessary curiosity. Hera had asked me, not with force, but with a quiet certainty that only she could carry. She did not demand. She only reminded. She only hinted. The King of Gods slept, and yet the work was not finished. Systems once disturbed do not restore themselves instantly. I watched the currents of the night, how they seeped into valleys, traveled along rivers, brushed over mountains. Every sound, every pause, every breath of wind was a note in a symphony I conducted invisibly. The mortals below, still restless, began to echo the rhythm. Their muscles softened, their hearts slowed. Their minds, even those who sought to stay vigilant, found themselves pausing at the edges of thought. Hera understood this. She had always understood. The world could not be hurried into rest. Rest was not a switch. It was a negotiation between systems that often disagreed. I felt her gratitude, not in words, but in alignment. The wind responded. The clouds thickened without suffocating. The earth held warmth in places that had been too cold. Even the fires on distant coasts burned lower without going out. This is what Hera promised me in return. Not a title, not a command, but a gift deferred, a future alignment waiting in the folds of time. I understood her fully. She had always been the goddess of balance, of timing, of intervention that does not shout but gently nudges. When she called, I had moved, not aggressively, not in haste, but with the patience that only an ancient night can teach. I had guided the King of Gods into a sleep that could not be stolen by thought, by worry, or by stubborn duty. And yet the story was not yet complete. I sensed the invisible threads of reward and promise, of patience kept and patience honored. Systems that function quietly also offer recognition to those who wait. In the stillness of that night, I began to feel the small stirrings of what was to come. Not yet Pasithea, not yet fully revealed, but a presence in the unseen that would eventually complement all I had begun. She would become a partner to the work already underway, a guide to the mind when my hands and breath were only capable of guiding the body. Until then, I remained as I always am, the silent conductor of systemic restoration, the cozy spaces of the world, hidden rooms, warm sheets, familiar fabrics, the simple embrace of stillness. These all fell under my watch. Sleep does not arrive as a demand. It arrives as an invitation, and invitations must be repeated. Repeated night after night until the system remembers how to accept them. The soldiers of Troy, the mortals who feared or awaited, the gods who lingered in tension, all benefited. The subtle currents I had stirred carried restorative energy, even where I could not be seen. Hera's gift, deferred, was the quiet promise that one day the mind would be ready for the deeper work. And in this realization, I saw once more the necessity of patience, the necessity of systems that align themselves over time, without force, without arrogance. Systems, when tended gently, repair themselves. This is the lesson I carry to every weary mortal and every watchful god. The center may sleep, but the periphery learns to follow the rhythm. The network of rest expands naturally. Body and mind learn to trust the rhythm before it is even fully visible. The night moves on. The stars maintain their courses. The winds continue their steady path. And I, Hypnos, remain patient, invisible, ever aware of the system I shepherd. All things are held. All systems are realigned. All beings, mortals and gods, receive slowly the benefit of a cosmic pause. And in this way, the promise is kept, even before the promised arrival. The night had stretched its arms long over Olympus. I, Hypnos, had already guided the king of gods into sleep. Yet even as his eyes closed and his mind sank into the gentle river of rest, I sensed that a fuller, more subtle alignment was required. A work that body alone could not complete. It was then that Pasithea arrived, moving as if she were the very breath of twilight. Not with noise, not with pomp, but with the quiet certainty of someone who belongs to the realm of dreams, to the invisible threads of thought and emotion. I recognized her at once, not by sight alone, but by the resonance she carried, a vibration of calm that neither the wind nor the river could produce alone. Hera had promised her to me, not as a command, but as an assurance that the orchestration of sleep could be complete. Body and mind, senses and thoughts, resting in tandem. Pasithea's presence was like the folding of a soft blanket around awareness. She did not touch, yet her influence was palpable. She did not speak, yet the mind listened. Her arrival was a gentle reminder that even Hypnos, though master of physical repose, cannot fully restore without the cooperation of thought and feeling. Together, the night stopped arguing with itself. I guided the physical, the softening of shoulders, the slow descent of breath, the release of tension in muscles long held tight by worry or vigilance. I traced the currents of wind through the halls of Olympus, nudging them to caress, not disrupt, directing the flow of night air across sleeping forms, from the mortal to the divine, ensuring that warmth was consistent, cozy, and welcoming. Pasithea attended to the mind. She swept through thoughts like a river of lavender-scented water, gently loosening worries, untangling loops of fear, mending the frayed edges of sleeplessness. She whispered into the soul, not with words, but with pulses of permission, allowing each consciousness to descend into its natural rhythm. I watched her work, and I marveled at the precision of her care. Where I could calm muscles, she could quiet memories. Where I could still the body, she could harmonize emotions. Together we became the invisible guardians of that universal space where night and rest converge. The soldiers in the distant tents of Troy, the watchful mortals on the hills, even those still awake in the marble halls of Olympus, felt the system adjust around them. Breath became synchronized with the rhythm of night. Thoughts became soft, pliable, ready to float rather than struggle. Every small element, the temperature of the air, the subtle scent of evening herbs, the gentle incline of a bed, contributed to a complete ecosystem of rest. Pasithea leaned toward the sleeping king, and I noted the balance she brought. It was not intrusive, it was integrative. A partnership born of necessity, but flourishing through understanding. I, the shepherd of body, she, the architect of mind. Together we created a harmony that neither of us could achieve alone. It was systemic, cohesive, and enduring. The King of Gods slept, but now it was not merely a cessation of awareness. It was renewal, a cosmic pause in which all threads of existence, muscular, emotional, cognitive, reconnected, rewove, and strengthened. The night deepened, and yet paradoxically, it became lighter. Not in brightness, but in the feeling of support and safety. Pasithea's presence infused a sense of home, a cozy cradle for consciousness itself, where rest could persist without fear or interruption. Even in chaos, even after 10 years of war, a sanctuary existed. I spoke quietly, not aloud, but in the flow of air and thought. Sleep is not a single act, it is a system. Every element matters, every detail counts. And when the system functions together, rest is complete, deep, and lasting. Pasithea's response was not in words either. It was in the soft alignment of energies, the settling of thoughts, the gentle pacing of internal tides. In that moment, I understood fully why Hera had made the promise. It was not only a reward for my service, it was the acknowledgement that even the gods themselves require cooperation between body and mind. Sleep, like balance, is systemic. The night continued, and we continued. I guided the tangible, muscle, breath, skin, warmth. Pasithea guided the intangible, memory, thought, emotion, dreams. Together, the system healed itself as nature intended. And even now, when one lies in a quiet, cozy place, the essence of that night persists. The wind moves slower. The comforter cradled the body. The thoughts, previously restless, drift with the rhythm of care. Systems, physical and mental, repair themselves. And though Pasithea may not always be visible, her influence remains, waiting to join with the hands of Hypnos to harmonize the world's sleep. It is then, in that convergence of body and mind, of night and gentle guidance, that true rest occurs. Not forced, not fleeting, but systemic, integrated, and enduring. The night stretched on, infinite and patient. Its darkness not a void, but a canvas waiting for the slow brush of rest. I, Hypnos, moved through it like a river itself. Each ripple a touch, each current a pulse of gentle insistence. Pasithea had arrived, and together we orchestrated a symphony invisible to the eye, yet tangible to every sense. Not merely a lull, not a momentary closure of eyes, but a deep, systemic convergence of body, mind, and environment. I began with the body, the vessel through which all consciousness must pass. I guided muscles, layer by layer, as one might fold a quilt around a sleeping form. Shoulders releasing tension, spinal vertebrae unwinding, arms and legs sinking into the yielding support of invisible hands. Even the smallest fibers, the tendons that hum with thoughtless tension, were coaxed into relaxation. Breath became the metronome of the night. Inhalations carried the scent of gentle winds, a whisper of earth and river, the warmth of a place that felt like home. Exhalations released more than carbon. They released the accumulated weight of worry, the residue of a day, the echoes of battles both mortal and divine. Pasithea attended to the mind, the unseen architecture of perception. She moved through thoughts like a soft current, guiding memory away from sharp edges, transforming anxiety into calm reflection. She did not command, nor did she instruct. Her presence alone suggested a safe haven, a cognitive sanctuary where every idea could float without judgment. Together, we formed a network of restorative influence. I tended the tangible, warmth, pressure, position, breath, tactile sensation. Pasithea tended the intangible, emotion, attention, memory, dreams. Where my hands could not reach, her energy suffused. Where her whispers could not be heard, my currents supported. The body and mind, once separate in their struggles, began to converge. A full system of sleep was emerging, one that would endure long after the night passed. I guided awareness as one might guide a candle through a dim corridor. Each thought was acknowledged, then gently set aside, permitted to drift into a soft pool of liminality. The mind began to mirror the body, each neuron slowing, each synapse breathing in rhythm with the tides of rest. Not through force, but through invitation. I spoke, not in words, but in the cadence of the night itself. Sleep is not a single act. It is the collaboration of body, mind, and environment. Every element participates. Every element matters. When aligned, the system restores itself naturally and completely. Pasithea added her own rhythm, a subtle pulse in the quiet spaces of consciousness, an invisible weaving that connected thoughts with feelings, dreams with memories, emotions with the physical heart of the sleeper. Together, our work was a holistic immersion. The weight of the body settled more deeply into the surface beneath it, as if gravity itself had softened. A careful choreography that left no corner unattended. Outside, the world continued in its chaos. The distant fires of Troy glimmered. The murmur of soldiers' voices rose and fell. The winds shifted over mountains and seas. Yet within the sanctuary of this orchestrated night, there was an oasis of order, a microcosm of harmony where rest could persist uninterrupted. The sense of home, the soft, enveloping comfort of a space that welcomes rather than demands, was essential. Like warm comforter draped the body, the bed supported every curve and contour. The air, scented with the faint memory of lavender fragrance, was neither too cold nor too warm. Just the right balance for a body to sink fully into ease. This was the essence of cozy home rest, a metaphor for the systemic stability we aim to cultivate. Muscles, breath, thoughts, and heartbeats all fell into gentle synchrony. Even the smallest details contributed. The subtle incline of a head, the quiet slope of a shoulder, the gentle rise and fall of the chest. Nothing was superfluous and nothing was neglected. The system, body and mind, was complete, each part harmonizing with the other in a stable alignment that did not require effort to maintain. The sleeper's consciousness began to drift into the liminal space between wakefulness and dreams. Morpheus himself would have recognized the precision of this transition. Soft, fluid, unhurried, allowing dream fragments to form without pressure, allowing the mind to wander safely through the corridors of memory and imagination. Pasitheia's subtle guidance ensured that even the fleeting thoughts, the brief sparks of unrest, found their proper place, never disturbing the serenity of the unfolding night. As the night deepened, we introduced microcycles of systemic reinforcement. Each cycle addressed a dimension of rest. Physical tension released, emotional turbulence calmed, cognitive patterns softened, environmental stimuli neutralized. By cycling through these layers repeatedly, we achieved a depth of restoration that no single element could provide alone. I moved through the body like wind through a grove, Pasitheia through the mind like light through water. The sleeper system responded as a whole, breath slow and measured, muscles pliable and warm, thoughts clear yet unpressured, emotions balanced and unreactive. It was an orchestrated immersion in rest, an invisible, systemic spate of sleep and renewal. Even if the sleeper was not yet fully unconscious, they felt the coherence. A sense of completeness settled over them, a quiet assurance that each element of their being was attended, each thread of their experience woven into a tapestry of calm. The night itself became a partner, its darkness a cradle, its air a gentle hand, its quiet a lullaby. This is the essence of systemic restoration. Not a single act, not a quick solution, not a transient relief. Every aspect of body and mind, every environmental factor, every fleeting thought or sensation, all cooperate in a coordinated, slow, deliberate dance. And in that dance, true sleep is found. By the time the first hints of dawn approached, the sleeper's system was fully aligned. The body rested, the mind rested, the environment conspired to maintain that harmony. Pasitheia and I withdrew slowly, leaving only the gentle residue of order, the quiet pulse of systemic repair, the sense of a cozy, safe haven in which sleep could continue even unattended. And thus the night fulfilled its purpose. Not simply the absence of wakefulness, but the achievement of integration. The body, mind, and environment aligned. The system restored. The sleeper ready for the day, not merely through force of will, but through the enduring harmony of a properly orchestrated night. The night does not hurry. It stretches unbroken, folding over itself like layers of soft fabric. I move through it as quietly as a shadow glides over still water, my presence felt rather than seen. Even now, the sleeper lies in the subtle oscillation between wakefulness and the depths of dream. Muscles relaxed, breath slow, the heart's rhythm in gentle conversation with the night, each system in their body cooperating. Yet there is more to attend. The currents of thought, the gentle pull of memory, the lingering echoes of emotion. Pasithea drifts alongside me, her essence a barely perceptible light in the darkness, touching those mental threads that resist full release. Where I guide the physical, she guides the psychological. Together we construct a network of rest that is both comprehensive and enduring. The sleeper's environment matters as much as the body and mind. Even unseen elements, the subtle draft of air, the faint scent of herbs or river stones, the gentle support beneath every limb, all contribute to the systemic nature of restoration. Sleep is not an isolated act. It is an orchestration, a collaboration of all dimensions of being. I whisper, though no words are required. Allow yourself to sink further, each part of your body aware yet unburdened, each thought allowed to drift like clouds in a sky without wind. This is the slow current of sleep, the river on which all your being can float safely. Pasithea adds her quiet pulse, an echo in the chambers of memory, a caress to lingering tension, a gentle suggestion that every emotion is safe to release. The combination is not coercion, but invitation, not command, but partnership. The system responds naturally, for each component knows its role and trusts the rhythm we provide. Consider the hands and arms, muscles loosened, fingers releasing, palms facing the invisible sky of rest. The torso, lungs rise and fall in a measured cadence, the heart nested in its chamber, supported and calm. The legs, each fiber yielding, each joint softened, sinking into comfort, supported as if by a home that is both physical and metaphorical. Even the smallest details are attended. The way the sleeper's hair brushes the pillow, the slope of the shoulders against the unseen mattress, the temperature of the air against the skin, all harmonize with the currents of mind and body, all contributing to the enduring efficacy of systemic rest. Dreams begin to emerge, not in chaotic bursts, but in gentle flows. Morpheus himself might nod in approval at the balance. Visions appear and fade. Memory fragments drift into narrative. Emotions settle into patterns of resolution and peace. Nothing is forced. Nothing is demanded. The sleeper learns through experience rather than instruction that true rest is cumulative, patient, and comprehensive. The cozy home extends beyond mere comfort. It is the invisible architecture of safety where every cushion, every blanket, every corner of the room, or the imagined room, supports the alignment of mind and body. It is the recognition that sleep requires more than one element, that systemic solutions outlast transient fixes, that enduring rest is woven from the integration of environment, habit, sensation, and intention. Time stretches unmeasured. I attend the body, Pasithea attends the mind. We cycle repeatedly through micro-adjustments, ensuring that every system remains in synchrony. If breath falters, we guide it back into rhythm. If muscle tension arises, we dissolve it with gentle currents. If thought threatens distraction, we envelop it in calm, not to erase it, but to allow it its proper place in the system. I speak again, though silently. Your sleep is not a single event. It is a layered process, each cycle reinforcing the last, each system supporting the others. This is the slow, deep work of night, the work that is sustainable, that endures beyond any single night of rest. Even as the outer world begins its subtle stir, the first light filtering across distant peaks, the faint sounds of the waking world, the sleeper remains secure, immersed in the network of systemic restoration we have crafted. Every muscle, every thought, every emotion, every breath is synchronized in a harmony that persists beyond conscious awareness. The night, the home, the body, the mind, all in alignment. Every element has participated in the orchestration, none neglected, none hurried. The result is a full systemic restoration. Not temporary, not superficial, but a foundation for enduring peace and resilience. Pasithea and I slowly recede, leaving only the residue of order, a network of stillness, a safe harbor for consciousness to return to as it will. The sleeper remains cradled, fully supported, aware or unaware of the care, yet benefiting completely from the coordinated systems of rest. And so the currents of sleep continue to flow, slow, deliberate, unbroken, from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, from the deepest memories to the lightest thoughts, each part of the system restored in its proper place. This is the culmination of the night's work, a body and mind in harmony, a safe, cozy haven within which sleep is not only possible, but sustainable, regenerative, and systemic. The night does not merely arrive, it circulates, folding over itself, weaving currents that move unseen yet universally. I, Hypnos, walk alongside these currents, attentive to every ripple, every subtle shift, knowing that sleep is never a single moment, but a sequence of restoration cycles, each necessary, each reinforcing the last. Consider the body. It is not a singular entity, but a network of interdependent systems: muscle, bone, nerve, circulation, temperature. Each requires its own guidance, its own invitation to relax. I move from the crown of the head, tracing the pathways of thought, down the spine, along the ribs, across the shoulders and limbs, ensuring that no system resists, that each segment can yield fully to night. Pasithea hovers nearby, unseen yet unmistakable. Her presence attends the mind, the currents of emotion, the flickering sparks of memory. She reminds the sleeper that thoughts are passengers, not captains. Every cycle of rest I guide is mirrored by a cycle of emotional restoration she fosters. Together we create layers of restoration: physical, psychological, and environmental, all aligned in a cozy home-like architecture of support. Even the air participates in this symphony, soft drafts brushing the skin, carrying subtle scents of night-blooming flora, the faint resonance of distant rivers, the gentle rustle of unseen leaves. Each element interacts with the sleeper, teaching the body that the environment itself is a partner in systemic rest, a silent collaborator in the orchestration of sleep. I pause at the shoulders, palms hovering just above the skin, not to press, not to manipulate, but to signal that release is allowed, that weight may sink into the support beneath. The arms follow, the hands soften, the fingers untangle from their vigilance. Every micro adjustment is part of a cycle of restoration, repeated and reinforced, ensuring that no tension accumulates unnoticed. Pasithea's attention drifts through the mental landscape. Old anxieties, the residue of long-held vigilance, begin to dissipate. She gently coaxes the mind into trusting the natural flow of sleep. Acknowledging that rest is not passivity, but an active, orchestrated process, a collaboration between internal systems and the quiet power of night. The legs and feet follow the rhythm I establish. Weight settling, muscles softening, joints yielding. Breath flows steadily, synchronized with the subtle pulses of night. Even the smallest nerve fibers respond, receiving guidance from our coordinated influence. The sleeper exists within a complete system where mind, body, and environment communicate fluidly, each reinforcing the other. Dreams begin to form, not as abrupt intrusions, but as gentle currents, like rivers splitting into tributaries before rejoining the main flow. Morpheus may float past, inspecting the balance, each vision and sensation moving in harmony with the sleeper's restored systems. There is no chaos here. Every dream is supported by the layers of relaxation we have nurtured. I whisper silently, every breath, every heartbeat, every thought, every sensation, they are threads in the tapestry of sleep. Allow each to flow, without forcing, without resisting. This is the natural rhythm of night, and you are part of it, fully supported, fully safe. Pasithea responds with subtle pulses that reach the mind's deepest recesses. Anxiety softens, lingering thoughts dissolve, emotional patterns reorganize themselves into calm. She reminds the sleeper that sleep is cumulative, that every cycle reinforces the previous, that systemic restoration is more enduring than any single night's rest. The environment, the invisible home of comfort, acts in concert. Pillows conform to shape. Blankets provide warmth without weight. The room itself, imagined or real, envelops the sleeper in a protective, cozy cocoon. This metaphorical home is a microcosm of systemic support, where all elements contribute to sustained restoration. Time flows differently here. No clock ticks, no calendar interrupts. Only cycles of rest, carefully guided, each a loop of restoration building upon the last. Muscle, nerve, thought, and emotion all participate, coordinated in a slow, deliberate choreography that extends throughout the night. Even as external noises emerge, the faintest hint of morning, a distant stir, the sleeper remains cocooned, the system unbroken. Each element, each cycle, each micro-adjustment ensures continuity. The night's orchestration persisting beyond conscious awareness. I glide slowly along the sleeper's form, noting each response, a micro shiver of release in the spine, a soft sigh as muscles let go, the gentle relaxation of mental tension as thoughts are granted space to drift. These are the markers of a system operating in harmony. They are the proof that sleep is not an isolated event, but a living, breathing orchestration of interdependent elements. As the cycles continue, the sleeper descends deeper into restorative currents. Time blurs, consciousness floats. Dreams weave naturally with physical and emotional repair. This is the ultimate design of systemic sleep, a process that endures, nurtures, and strengthens, ensuring that rest is both immediate and cumulative. Pasithea and I recede slightly, our presence now a subtle hum beneath awareness, yet the systems we have engaged continue their work. Muscle fibers, nerve endings, emotional currents, and environmental cues all aligned. Sleep has become self-sustaining, a natural systemic process operating in the quiet harmony of night. And so, the night endures, the cycles continue, and the sleeper rests, supported by the full orchestration of body, mind, and environment. Every breath, every pulse, every sensation, Every dream contributes to the ongoing repair of the system. This is the rhythm I preserve, the principle I teach, that systemic restoration is enduring, holistic, and deeply effective. A truth that extends far beyond a single night, beyond a single act of sleep, into the very architecture of being itself. I glide along the contours of the sleeper, unseen yet profoundly present. Every subtle vibration of muscle, every whisper of tension, I notice and attend to. The shoulders, heavy with the weight of vigilance, begin to release their burden. The trapezius unwinds, fibers elongate, and the spine sighs in quiet relief. Arms once ready to defend, relax into soft surrender. Hands unclench, fingers loosen their grip on the day's memory. The skin feels the gentle passage of air, a soft current carrying warmth and calm. Muscles breathe with a rhythm as natural and unhurried as the river Styx itself. I descend toward the torso, tracing the chest and abdomen with invisible hands. Breath slows, drawing in, releasing, flowing evenly as though the lungs themselves know the cadence of night. Every rib, every vertebra, every sinew finds the invitation to let go. No command is necessary. The body recognizes my presence and yields willingly. Legs and feet, carriers of distance and burden, follow the same tender guidance. Calves release tension accumulated from prolonged alertness. Ankles rotate subtly, kneecaps soften, toes uncurl as if stretching in the warmth of unseen sun. Even the soles of the feet feel a comforting weight, grounding, secure. The environment itself joins in this orchestration. Sheets contour perfectly to form a gentle embrace. Pillows cradle the head with just enough lift to invite ease. A subtle scent drifts through the air, imagined but tangible. Lavender, cedar, and the warmth of a cozy home, wrapped around the sleeper like a silent guardian. Pasithea hovers near the mind, her touch unseen but deeply felt. She traces anxious thoughts with soft light, allowing fleeting worries to dissolve into the darkness without resistance. The mind drifts, mirroring the body's release, and both are supported by an invisible architecture of rest. Even the smallest details, weight of blankets, the slight bend of knees, the softness beneath fingertips, align to reinforce relaxation. Every sensation becomes part of the system, each element supporting the other in a network of somatic and emotional repair. Breathing deepens and slows, heartbeat softens and steadies. Nerves hum with calm, each pulse reinforcing the gentle descent into night's embrace. This is the essence of systemic sleep. Muscles, mind, environment, and air all operating in harmony. A holistic web of restoration that cannot be rushed, forced, or fractured. And through it all, I remain Hypnos, a quiet conductor. Not imposing, not demanding, merely guiding, allowing the night, the air, the body and the mind to complete their own natural symphony. Sleep emerges as a living, breathing system, a sanctuary woven from every thread of the night. As the body settles into night's embrace, the mind begins its own gentle descent. I, Hypnos, watch over every flicker of thought, every trembling impulse of consciousness, guiding them toward quiet. Dreams like rivers converging into a still lake begin to form, soft, undulating, and malleable. Pasithea moves alongside me, though she remains subtle, barely a whisper in the mind's corridors. Her presence is warmth, the assurance that every anxious thought, every unfinished worry can be touched, acknowledged, and released. In this space, emotional burdens lose their weight. They dissolve like morning mist upon the river's surface. I invite the sleeper to imagine a home, warm, safe, cocooned in light, too gentle to see but easy to feel. Every wall is a comfort, every corner an embrace, every sound a muted lullaby. This is the essence of a cozy home, a place where every system, body, mind, breath, memory, can fully relax. Not just a physical space, but an emotional architecture designed for holistic restoration. The dreams themselves carry the same rhythm as the night. Not chaotic, not demanding, but slow and collaborative. They flow, carrying fragments of the day's experiences, softly reordering, rebalancing, integrating. Joy and sorrow alike are allowed their moment, but none remain too long to disrupt the systemic calm. Thoughts that once raced through the mind like frenzied warriors now march in slow, deliberate order. They pause, they rest, they integrate into the quiet symphony of night. Even memories of vigilance and stress soften under the gentle insistence of sleep. Each neuron, each synapse, is bathed in this orchestrated calm. The environment contributes as well. Air currents move with a measured rhythm, echoing the pulse of the sleeper's heart. Sheets hug without constriction, pillows lift without effort, and every familiar object resonates with the promise of safety and calm. This is the interplay between internal and external systems, an alignment that reinforces lasting, restorative sleep. I trace the boundaries of awareness, ensuring that even the edge of consciousness is gently soothed. Pasithea's light touches lingering anxieties, guiding them into soft shapes that do not awaken resistance. Fears, regrets, anticipation, all find a place in the dreamscape, processed, acknowledged, and returned to night. Here, sleep is not simply a pause, it is systemic repair. Muscles, mind, environment, and emotions are woven together in an integrated network. No single element can achieve true rest alone. The body might lie still, yet if the mind races or the environment intrudes, restoration falters. By guiding each element harmoniously, I ensure that rest is complete and enduring. And as the dreams flow, I watch over subtle transitions. The mind drifts into deeper layers of processing. Emotions soften like ripples across a quiet lake. Memories of the day settle into gentle archives, accessible yet undemanding. Every aspect of the self, physical, emotional, cognitive, receives attention. The night deepens further, and a profound stillness emerges. It is neither empty nor absent, but full of gentle activity, subtle, unseen, but immensely effective. The sleeper, cocooned in their personal sanctuary, is held in a system that cares for every dimension of rest. The sense of safety, the rhythmic harmony, the gentle orchestration of body and mind, all coalesce into the deepest, most complete restoration possible. This is the ultimate goal of systemic sleep. Not mere unconsciousness, not transient rest, but holistic repair, where every part of the being, muscles, nerves, heart, mind, emotions, finds its place in a coordinated, enduring calm. And as long as I remain here, guiding, coordinating, witnessing, the system functions uninterrupted, allowing sleep to unfold naturally, fully, and deeply. The sleeper drifts, not lost, but entirely present in their own restored world. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement, minute, gentle, coordinated, contributes. Even when consciousness flickers near the edges, there is no panic, no disruption. Every detail is accounted for, every system respected, every element harmonized. And I remain ever watchful, ever gentle, ensuring that the night, the dreamscape, the physical body, and the emotional self are aligned in perfect systemic repair. This is the depth of hypnosis care, the orchestration of night. As the night flows, I guide the sleeper deeper into the sanctuary of rest. The space, imagined yet tangible, is a home not built of walls alone, but of comfort and care. Every corner, every surface, every texture resonates with reassurance. A gentle warmth permeates the air, carrying the subtle scent of familiarity and safety. This is not merely a home, it is a systemic sanctuary where every element contributes to the healing of the body and mind. The mattress beneath supports without pressure, the pillow cradles without resistance, and even the smallest whisper of air moves in synchrony with the sleeper's breathing. Every aspect is coordinated, part of a greater orchestration, a living network of calm. I move lightly through this space, unseen yet present. My touch is gentle as a shadow passing over a candle flame. Muscles that have held tension through the day surrender one by one, joints soften, tendons release, and the skeletal frame becomes a vessel for serenity. The mind, once restless, begins to mirror this order. Thoughts slow, spinning in spirals of gentle cadence, then settle into a rhythm aligned with breath and heartbeat. Emotions, long held under the pressure of wakefulness, find space to flow and resolve. Fear, anticipation, regret, they are acknowledged and gently set aside, allowed to dissipate into the night's enveloping calm. Even the heart participates in this symphony of rest. Its rhythm slows without force, settling into a measured cadence that mirrors the quiet flow of the sticks. Blood moves smoothly, delivering warmth and life to every corner of the body, and every cell inhales the night's quiet. Every nerve responds to its tender guidance. This is the essence of systemic sleep. No single element, however attentive, can achieve full restoration alone. Body, mind, emotion, environment, each is a node in the network. If one falters, all are affected. Thus, I orchestrate them together. The environment, the body, the mind, the breath, the emotional currents, all flowing in harmonious rhythm. Pasithia's presence adds a subtle refinement to this orchestration. Where I attend to the tangible, the body, the air, the material comforts, she attends to the intangible. She smooths the rough edges of lingering thoughts, softens emotional turbulence, and guides the subconscious through dreamscapes that soothe and integrate experiences. Together, we create an environment where restoration is not intermittent, but continuous, resilient, and enduring. The cozy home of the mind, the sanctuary of the body, and the gentle architecture of dreamscapes, they are all part of one systemic whole. Here, the sleeper does not merely rest, they repair, recalibrate, and restore. Every micro movement, every subtle sensation, every emotional current is attended to, forming a holistic weave of calm that penetrates deep into the self. I remind the sleeper, silently, without words, that sleep is not a passive surrender, but a coordinated engagement of all systems. An integration where body, mind, and environment cooperate naturally. The cozy home becomes both metaphor and reality, a space where safety, warmth, and balance converge to allow the deepest repair. Even when the sleeper's awareness flickers, there is no disruption. Every distraction is absorbed. Every minor unease is reconciled, as though the home itself breathes alongside them, adjusting, adapting, holding, and comforting. The night flows, the body settles, the mind quiets, and the soul finds its rhythm. And I, Hypnos, remain attentive, guiding the slow convergence of systems, ensuring that restoration is not only deep, but enduring. That the sleeper's being is repaired in a way that will persist beyond the night. Sleep is not the absence of consciousness, it is the harmonious engagement of every element of being. It is systemic, it is complete, it is gentle. And as the cozy home embraces the sleeper fully, they float in the river of night, carried along currents that I have orchestrated, supported by the architecture of dream, body, mind, and environment, until every tension has melted, every thought has softened, and every cell of the body, every emotion of the heart, and every impulse of the mind has found its natural, undisturbed place. This is the power of systemic sleep, an immersive, harmonious, multi-layered restoration that flows as naturally as the sticks, as gently as a home filled with warmth and quiet, and as enduring as the night itself. The night deepens, and I, Hypnos, move through the quiet spaces of the sleeper's consciousness like a soft, steady current. Every breath is a wave. Every heartbeat is a drum of gentle insistence. The body is no longer a vessel of tension, but a landscape of calm hills and valleys, where nerves lie soft, muscles relax, and joints settle into their natural angles. The mind, once a restless traveler, now drifts in gentle eddies. Thoughts like leaves on a slow river are neither controlled nor dismissed. They float, guided by the natural flow of night. I do not push, I do not command, I guide, I orchestrate, I allow the system to resume its inherent balance. This is systemic restoration, a process that cannot be rushed, a rhythm that cannot be forced. The body, the mind, the emotions, the environment, all are interwoven. If one thread falters, the tapestry weakens. If all threads flow in harmony, the weave becomes strong, resilient, enduring. In this harmonious flow, the cozy sanctuary of the home becomes more than metaphor. It is a felt reality, the softness of bedding, the gentle warmth of the air, the faint scent of familiarity, the gentle rustle of wind outside the window, all work together as agents of calm. Every element contributes to the network. Every element restores, every element holds. Even the smallest details are not overlooked. The alignment of the head and the pillow, the gradual release of tension in the jaw, the subtle adjustment of the spine to a neutral curve, the quiet settling of the legs and feet. These minute adjustments, unnoticed in waking hours, are critical to the holistic repair of the system. And yet it is not only the body that heals. The mind too finds its rhythm. Emotions, long held in tension, are gently processed. Anxiety softens. Anticipation dissolves. Lingering worries float away. Dreams begin to take shape, not controlled, not demanded, but arising naturally from the confluence of body, mind, and environment. Pasithia's presence, though subtle, enriches this integration. Where I attend to the tangible, the breath, the body, the environment, she attends to the intangible, emotional balance, memory integration, subtle dream patterns. Together we form a full system of repair where no aspect of being is neglected. The sleeper is held in a sanctuary, both physical and psychological, a place where every system is engaged in restoration, where us sleep is not a passive surrender, but a coordinated, holistic process. Notice how even external stimuli, the distant sounds of night, the whisper of a breeze, the dim shimmer of moonlight, are absorbed rather than disturbing. They become part of the symphony of calm, woven seamlessly into the flow of rest. There is no need for vigilance. There is no need for struggle. Everything is aligned, and the system can perform its work unhindered. The effect of this systemic approach is profound. It is not a fleeting rest. It is not a temporary lapse into unconsciousness. Muscles regain their natural tone. Nerves recover their sensitivity without tension. Emotions reset to their natural balance. And the mind develops resilience for wakeful hours. The cozy sanctuary, a metaphor now made tangible in sensation, becomes a template for long-term restoration. It demonstrates that sleep, to be truly effective, must engage every level of being: the physical, the psychological, the emotional, and the environmental. All must be coordinated. All must be respected. All must be allowed to flow together. This is why I, Hypnos, insist on a systemic approach to sleep. A body left unsupported cannot fully relax. A mind left unchecked cannot truly drift. Emotions unacknowledged can stir even the deepest slumber. And an environment unsuited to calm will resist even the gentlest guidance. Only when all these elements align can the night perform its intended work. And so, the sleeper drifts further, carried by a river of calm that I, with Pasithea, have guided. Each inhalation, each exhalation, each subtle heartbeat aligns with the flow. Dreams arise naturally like morning mists, but they do not disturb, they nurture. Every cell, every fiber, every emotion, and every thought participates in this restorative symphony. In this harmonic integration, the night becomes more than darkness. It becomes a living, breathing system, a home, a sanctuary, a coordinated space of repair. The sleeper is enveloped in comfort, supported by the gentle architecture of systemic care, and every system of the self is allowed to resume its natural rhythm. Even the awareness of being held in such a sanctuary fades. It is not forgotten, but integrated. The home, the night, the system, they are no longer separate. They are the self, and the self is resting as it is meant to. Sleep, in its fullest sense, has been restored. And now the night has fully settled, and I, Hypnos, pause to witness the culmination of all that has flowed before. The winds no longer whisper in hesitation. They glide steadily, carrying the last traces of wakefulness away. The river Styx mirrors the moon, unbroken, serene, and infinitely patient, flowing as it always has, beyond the bounds of mortal urgency. In this sanctuary of night, the body rests, the mind releases, the heart softens. Every muscle, every joint, every breath has found its own rhythm, attuned to the greater harmony of the night. Even the subtle tremors of thought dissolve into gentle currents, carried along without resistance. There is no rush here, no task left undone. no expectation unmet. Each system of the self has been acknowledged, engaged, and guided back into equilibrium. The body is restored, the mind renewed, the emotions balanced, and the environment itself has become a cocoon of warmth and safety. Pasithea, in her subtle, quiet presence, has lent her gift of meditation and inner peace. She attends to the unseen spaces of the mind, where emotions and memories linger, where restless thought once resisted the lull of night. Together, we have ensured that nothing essential has been neglected, that every thread in the intricate web of sleep, awareness, and being has been restored. And yet, this is not simply the act of sleep. It is the affirmation of systemic restoration. I have guided the breath, the muscle, the rhythm of the body. Pasithea has guided the mind, the emotions, the subtle landscape of consciousness, and the environment, soft light, gentle air, the intangible coziness of a safe home, has provided the foundation. This is the truth I wish to leave with you. Sleep is not merely closing the eyes, but allowing the system of self to realign, repair, and harmonize. It is not an isolated act, but a coordinated symphony. When body, mind, heart, and home align, restoration becomes deep, enduring, and true. Even if wakefulness returns, even if the mind stirs, the lessons of night remain. The body remembers how to release tension. The mind remembers how to let thoughts float. The heart remembers how to soften. And the environment, the sanctuary you create, remains a vessel for calm, a constant partner in the work of restorative sleep. The night does not demand your surrender. It asks only your permission. And in granting it, you allow the river to carry you, the wind to guide you, and the quiet of night to restore you. Pasithea and I remain here, invisible yet attentive, a gentle orchestra that continues to play even as your awareness drifts further into dream. You are held, you are safe, you are complete. And when you awaken, the echoes of this night will linger. The knowledge that rest is not fleeting, but systematic. That comfort, stillness, and alignment create a lasting sanctuary. That the act of sleep is an art, a ritual, a living harmony. So let your awareness sink one last time into the calm of the night. Let every breath, every thought, every feeling settle into the rhythm we have cultivated together. Sleep, as it was meant to be, flows beneath thought, beyond worry, across every system of your being. The night is eternal, the river constant, and you, rested, whole, and harmonized, join the endless flow. Here in this sacred intersection of body, mind, and home, you are truly allowed to be still. You are truly allowed to rest, and in that rest you are restored.